Hello friends, in continuation of our video lectures on the Constitution of India, here we have come up with the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, which tells about the fundamental rights which are being guaranteed by the state to the people of the country, right? So in order to understand the fundamental rights, that is part 3 of the Indian Constitution, we have to firstly understand the basic structure of our Indian Constitution so as to better clarity of the understanding of parts of the Constitution of India, how our Constitution is being divided, right? So in order to understand the basic structure of the Constitution is, for example, this is the Constitution of India. Under this there is 25 parts. Currently we have 25 parts, like same as we see in book, right? Under one book there is many chapters. In the same way there is 25 parts of our Indian Constitution, and under this part we have 448 articles currently. But at the time of the when constitution was completely drafted, there were 22 parts of our Indian Constitution, and under that 22 parts we had 395 articles. But currently, after various constitutional amendments, we have 25 parts. Under that parts we have 448 articles in our Indian Constitution. For the basic understanding, you can keep in mind this basic structure of our Indian Constitution. There is vast more elaborate answer of this basic structure, but for the time being it is important to understand this basic structure of our Indian Constitution. In the same way, part 1 of our Indian Constitution tells about the union territories, states, and its territorial areas. And the part 2 of our Indian Constitution tells about the citizenship, the persons who shall be called as citizen of the country, that is India, right? And in the following manner, part 3 of Indian Constitution tells about the fundamental rights. What are the fundamental rights given to the each and every citizens, and what are its remedies, and against whom the fundamental rights can be challenged. So in order to understand the fundamental rights, firstly we have to understand fundamental word meaning. The meaning of the fundamental is the basic human rights, basic human needs. You can understand this as the definition of the fundamental, that is basic needs is the fundamental needs. So in the same way, basic rights, that is need for the basic rights of the Indian Constitution, for the peoples, in order to live a dignified life in their course of actions. I hope I don't came more technical, but once again I repeat this basic term of the Indian Constitution. If we understand this fundamental term, then we can easily understand all these articles of our Indian Constitution. Basically, in order to understand the fundamental rights of Indian Constitution, firstly we have to understand the fundamental words, meaning of the fundamental words. And the meaning of fundamental is the basic and important things which are required by every human beings for the further dignified life. This is the basic human rights which are being required. That's why it is called a fundamental right. Now, under these fundamental rights, we have article from 12, article 12 to article 35. Article 12 to article 35 deals about the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. And article 12, now we are going through the articles of our Indian Constitution. So article 12 defines the states. For example, fundamental rights are the rights which are being given to the citizen of India, against and who has the liability to give fundamental rights and to ensure that implementation of fundamental rights, that is the states. So article 12 of the Constitution firstly defines the states before whom the liability is being made, that to ensure the fundamental rights, proper implementation of fundamental rights of the citizens or the citizens of the country. So article 12 defines the states. Under this article 12 we have four type of definitions of the authority, right? That is, we have four type of authority which are being deemed as a state. Firstly is parliament, state legislature, local authority, and other authorities. For example, universities, etc. It has various Supreme Court judgments on the states definition. So we are not going on in depth of the definition, but we, in order to understand the basic of the fundamental rights, that is part 3 of our Indian Constitution, we shall have to understand the definition of state. The state is being defined under the Article 12 of our Indian Constitution, and it tells about that who should be called as state, and what are its functions. Now, Article 13. What is Article 13? Article 13 basically deals about the judicial review. What is judicial review? For example, I am giving you an example. This is Article 12, which defines the states, and other except 13, Article 13, we have from 14 to 35. This is the definition of the fundamental rights which are being given to each and every citizen of the country. So from Article 14 to 35 defines the fundamental rights, but Article 12 and Article 12 defines the states. But what if anyone's fundamental rights are being violated? So here comes Article 13. Article 13 tells about the judicial review. If state makes any policy which wholly curtails the fundamental rights, then the judicial review, the courts of the country can tells that law as void ab initio. It shall be void and it shall not be implemented at any cost. So this is the power given to the judiciary of our Indian Constitution under the Article 13, that in case of any policy made in the which curtails the fundamental rights, then it shall be void. Now Article 14 to Article 18 deals about the right to equality. We have total 6 fundamental rights which are being conferred in the Constitution. First is right to equality, second is right to freedom, third is right against exploitation, and fourth is right to freedom of religion, and fifth is cultural and educational rights, and sixth is right to constitutional remedies. So in order to understand this, I have discussed overall topic, but we are going in depth of these articles. So first is right to equality. Article 14 to Article 18 is being discussed in this right to equality. Firstly, Article 14, that is equality before law, which tells that each and every citizen of the country, he might be either black or white, or he might be from any of the states, shall be equal before the law. And Article 14 ensures that each and every citizen shall be treated equally, irrespective of their caste, creed, or any type of ground. Now, Article 15, which tells about the prohibition of discrimination on ground of caste, creed, religion, etc. That is, the state shall make policies in favor of the discrimination of the prohibition of discrimination on ground of caste, creed, religion, or sex. For it might be male, female, each and every gender shall be treated equally at par. Now Article 16 deals about the equality of opportunity in public employment. We often see this article is little bit controversial, because while we see the reservation issues, this article is related to that only. But for the basic understanding, the article of our Indian Constitution gives each and every citizen of the country to right to equal opportunity in public employment, like government jobs. Each and every citizen shall be treated at par. But at the same time, we see reservation to the some backward classes, right? So this is Article 16. We are not going in depth, but we are overall understanding the basic concept of the Constitution of India. Now, abolition of untouchability is being discussed in Article 17. The state shall ensure that they will try to abolish untouchability practices which are prevalent on the earlier times, but which might be prevalent in the current time as well. So the state shall make policies in order to avoid or abolish the untouchability problems. Now Article 18 deals about the abolition of titles. Article 18 deals about the abolition of titles, which says that in earlier times we have heard about the Raj Sahab or Raj Bahadur or something names, right? So these are being titles which shall be tried to remove by the states, and which shall be motivated by the state. But there is one or two exemptions in this article, that in case of military situation, for example major, lieutenant, etc., they can put their titles. And in the same way, the educational backgrounds, for example, if anyone is a doctor, then they can put a doctor in front before their names. So these are being exemptions which are being given in Article 13 of our Indian Constitution, and which are being mentioned at various times in the news as well. Now, right to freedom of our Indian Constitution, which deals from Article 19 to Article 22, that is right to freedom. Article 19 defines basically 6 freedom regarding freedom of speech. Once again I repeat, second right is right to freedom under the Constitution of India, and the right to freedom is being discussed in is being discussed from Article 12 to Article 22 of our Indian Constitution. Firstly, Article 19 defines 6 freedom regarding freedom of speech. That is, Article 19 deals with the freedom of speech, and Article 19 is being defined in 4. There is 6 definition is being given under the freedom of speech. First is freedom of speech and expression. Each and every citizen shall have the right to free speech and expression within the law. But that is, each and every citizen has the right to free speech and free expression. No one can curtail these rights unless there is a great power or law which are being made, or which are being came into force in order to curtail this situation. Now, second is assembling with peace without arms. Each and every citizen has the right to assemble with peace without any arms. And if any violation has been made, or any law under the law, we see the 144 articles which are being used by the DMs. This is the situation where this is the right which are being conferred or curtailed in the 144 articles which are being used by the DMs. So these rights can be violated. All these rights can be violated unless there is a case where the authority deems that this will cause harm to many citizen. So socially it will harm, then states can make law against this. But the persons whose fundamental rights are being violated can go to judicial review, but there shall be some reason. Basically, if anyone is doing violation, then the state has the responsibility to curtail that, because socially it is not acceptable. But at the same time, if state is forcefully violating anyone's fundamental rights without any problem, then they can simply go to court and do request for judicial review, as simple. So the Article 13 has equal power as state. So this is the basic understanding of our Indian Constitution. Now, forming union or association, including cooperative society. Each and every citizen has a right to form union or association, including cooperative societies. Now, to move freely throughout the country, each and every citizen has the right to freely move to any part of the country and make a tour at any part of the country. Under the Article 9D gives this right to move freely throughout the country. To reside and settle in any part of the country. Each and every citizen has the right to reside in any part of the country. The people from Jammu and Kashmir can reside at Meghalaya, Shillong, or any Karnataka. At the same way, in the vice versa situation can be possible under the Article 19 of our Indian Constitution. To practice any profession, or to carry any occupation, trade, or business. Each and every citizen has the right to carry or practice any profession, trade, or business which are being permissible under the law. This is very important because there are some businesses professions which are not being given under the law, that it is illegal, so that can't be done under the law. And if that are being done, then article 13 are not applicable for this. Now article 20 deals about the protection in respect of conviction of offences. Now article 20, it is the very important article of our Indian Constitution, which tells about the protection in respect of conviction of certain offences. What does this tells? We all have heard about the accused who is accused of some offences cannot be once again I repeat, no person accused of any offence shall be compelled to be witness against himself. This is the very important judgmental issues which are being which we often come in news, that no person accused of any offences shall be witness against himself, which makes our law more flexible, and democratic values are being inserted in these articles. So article 20 basically deals about the protection in respect of conviction of certain offences, and no person shall be convicted of any offence except for violation of the law in force at the time of the commission of that act which has been charged as an offence. For example, if anyone do some illegal act, and at that time there were the law that each and every citizen can do that act, then it is not illegal as per the law. So this is the article 20, which defines the protection in respect of a conviction in certain offences. Now article 21, this article is often in news because it tells about the protection of life and liberty. It is the article which tells that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. Except without following any procedure of law, no person shall be deprived from his right to life and liberty. So the state shall ensure that protection of life and liberty are being always kept forward. Now article 21A, this was being inserted after the constitutional amendment, and which gives one additional right to the each and every citizens to a right to education. And under this article it is also being said that the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all children in the age group of 6 to 14 years as a fundamental rights in a manner such defined by the state, which was being given in, I think, 44th amendment of the Indian Constitution. After 44th amendment of the Indian Constitution, this article was being inserted. Now article 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Article 22 basically tells about the protection against arrest and detention in certain cases, which also tells about the, I think, D.K. Basu case, which says details the procedure of arrest, and the arrest shall be avoided until it is necessary to arrest anyone, and the person who is being arrested shall be detained in cannot be detained in custody without being informed as soon as may be of the ground for such arrest, nor he shall be denied the right to consult and to be defended by a lawyer. Once again I repeat, the person who is being arrested he has the right to be informed for what offences he is being arrested. So this is the fundamental rights which are being given in the article 22. This is one part of one thing I am explaining you. There is so much of thing under the article 22, so I am not going in depth of this article. So better understanding, for the better understanding, you can follow my videos. I have made one videos and for the article 22 of our Indian Constitution. right. Now third fundamental right which are being given under the article under the Indian constitution, which tells about the right against exploitation. And under this right against exploitation, there is basically two articles which are being given. Article 13, 23 and 24. Article 23 basically tells the states that the states shall make policies against prohibition of human trafficking and forced labor. The states shall ensure that no forced labor and human trafficking shall prevail in their state. And yeah, at the same time, article 24 tells about the prohibition of employment of children in factories, etc. This is the, you can say, social articles which are being included in the constitution as the fundamental rights to each and every citizen of our Indian peoples. Now fourth fundamental rights which are being given is right to freedom of religion, which revolves from article 25 to article 28 of the constitution. Article 25 basically tells about freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. This article, this right is being are basically related to freedom of religion, which are being guaranteed by the Indian constitution to each and every citizen, that each and every citizen shall have the right to free conscience, free profession and practice of their and propagation of their religion, and no one shall be deprived from their particular this right. Now next is freedom to manage religious affairs, which are being mentioned in article 22. Once again I repeat, article 26 tells about freedom to manage religious affairs, which tells that each and every citizen has freedom to manage religious affairs subject to public order, morality and health. It shall be moral and public, it shall be in public order, and it shall not neglect anyone's health. Every religious denomination or any section thereof shall have the right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes, and to manage its own affairs in the matter of religion, etc. These are being given under the article 26 of our Indian constitution, which all in all tells about the freedom to make charitable trust or religious institutions for the course of furtherance of the particular religion. Now article 27 tells about the freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Article 27, this article is also is always in very much controversial topics among the political parties, but for the better understanding, the state shall not enforce any person to pay taxes on the proceeds of which are specifically appropriated in payment of expenses for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination or institution. For example, if anyone is making a payment for their religion development or any institutional charges, then he shall not be the state shall not make policies in order to make that charge payment transactions taxable. So state shall ensure this as well, and this is being fundamental rights which given to the citizens, that they can make they can expend expenditure on their particular religion without paying tax. This is the basic understanding of this article 27. Article 28 deals about the freedom as to attendance at religious instructions or religious worships in certain educational institutions. This article 28 basically tells about the no person shall for example, if any school is funded by the state, then in that school no promotion of any particular religion is being done. So it will become a violation of the fundamental rights of that particular children and their parents. Once again I repeat, this become little bit complex. So article 28 deals about freedom as to attendance at religious instructions or religious worship in certain educational institution. But when there is the wholly funded by the state in that particular educational institution, where each and every religion children are being taught. So in that particular educational institution, no one can promote their particular religion in that school or institution. This is defined in the article 28 of our Indian constitution. Now, fifth fundamental rights, that is cultural and educational rights, which are being given in article 29 and article 30 of our Indian constitution. Article 29 tells about protection of interest of minorities. The state shall make policies in order to ensure the protection of the interest of the minorities of that particular state. Article 30 of our Indian Constitution tells about right of minorities to establish and administer educational institution. That is, the minorities shall has the freedom to make or establish and administer educational institution of their own minority peoples, for their own minority peoples as well, and it can be used by majority people as well. That is different thing. Now, after article 30, we are hereby seeing article 32. Firstly, we are seeing article 32 because we need some time for the article 31, so as to understand article 31 we have to understand article 32. This is interconnected. So article 32 deals about the right to constitutional remedies. If anyone's fundamental rights are being violated, then they can directly approach Supreme Court of India under the article 32 of our Indian Constitution. And while making this article, the our maker of the constitution, that is B.R. Ambedkar, tells that this article is the heart of the constitution and the very soul of it. It is the heart of our Indian constitution. Once this dies, the constitution will die. So this is the basic, this is the more and very, very important fundamental rights which are being given to each and every citizen of the country, that is right to constitutional remedies under the article 32. And each and every citizen whose fundamental rights are being violated, which are being mentioned above, and they can approach the court under the article 32, and they can the court can issue writs, WRITS, which are being mentioned in my further videos. Now, article 31, which was being removed, propelled by the constitution, because it was telling about the right to property. In this relation, there is too much of Supreme Court judgments. I am not going in depth of that, but article 31, which was earlier giving the right to each and every citizen to have their right to property, after removing the fundamental rights of right to property, it was being included in the constitutional right. Constitutional right is less important than the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights is very, very much important. So after various amendments of the constitution by the parliament, the fundamental rights which was being given to citizens, that is right to property, was being expelled, and the right to property clause was being added as the constitutional right. Now, article 33. Article 33 tells about the retrenching, curtailing the rights of personnel employed in armed forces. This tells about the persons which are being employed in the police force or any paramilitary forces, except proper military. This is very important. The persons which are personnels which are being employed in the state for the ensuring law and order situations, their fundamental rights can be retrenched or curtail. The article 33 tells about the state can curtail the fundamental rights which are being given under the article from article 14 to 35, that state can curtail the fundamental rights of the paramilitary forces and police forces or and their family members as well in some cases. So this is the defined in article 33. Once again I repeat, this become little complex. So article 33 tells about the state can curtail or retrench some fundamental rights of the personnel employed in their police or as a paramilitary, except military. This is the very important. Except military, the state can curtail some rights of the personnel employed in under them. Article 34 Article 34 defines situations where when the martial law can be implemented. This is the extreme situations where there is the threat of external aggression or which causes security situations, unity, integrity of the country. Then martial law can be imposed, and under this martial law, the civil administration become less or no effective, and the military administration are being given the charge of the state. So this is the article 34 which defines the martial law where when it can be imposed. This is different from the emergency situation which are being mentioned in different part of the constitution. I'm not going on that, but for the basic understanding, martial law is different from the emergency situations. Article 35, which tells the power to make laws, law is based on the parliament and not state legislature. Under the above fundamental rights, no states can make any changes under these fundamental rights, but it can be made by the parliament, not the state legislature. This article 35 defines basically that the parliament can make the changes, but state legislature can't make changes on the fundamental rights. And one more thing under article 34, that under martial law fundamental rights can be violated, it is completely legal, and the citizens can't go for constitutional remedies on article 32. Thank you.